This episode is sponsored by the Slang Self-Doubt Prayer Journal. Over the past 4 years, I have had the opportunity to help over 30 women identify, accept, and take action in the parts of their lives where they feel stuck. My heart's desire is to do that with every woman I come in contact with, but the truth is that's not realistic. So instead, I created a prayer journal that goes through that same journey. The Slang Self-Doubt Prayer Journal is designed for you to dig deep and answer questions that will pull out where you are stuck on your journey. The Slang Self-Doubt Prayer Journal consists of 6 sections of journal prompts and areas for reflections for when you want to dig a little deeper and just take your thoughts to another level. Whether it takes you 6 weeks or 6 months to complete, I promise you will not regret it. Head on over to my website at www.feliciawallace.com and select the books tab to make your purchase. If you are ready to find your fears and slay them, go to www.feliciawallace.com, select books, and get your copy today. You're listening to the Slang Self-Doubt Podcast with Coach Felicia, where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Welcome back to another episode of the Slang Self-Doubt Podcast. I am here with Krystal Henry from Around the Way Mom and Around the Way Parchment. Hey, Krystal, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Felicia. How are you?
I am doing well. So I like to start the story, the episodes off with like how I know people, whether or not I was stalking them, how I found them. And so I think we were Instagram friends, and we started on, I knew I started following you from there. I think I saw something that Keely Carter posted, and that's kind of how I got started, following you and following your brand. And then recently I interviewed another young lady, Janelle Boyd, and she was like, "Oh yeah, Krystal," and I was like, "Oh, I just pitched her." Like it was just like this full circle moment. So first of all, thank you for referring her to me. But I'm so glad to be able to talk to you myself.
Yeah, listen, Keely is the homie, Janelle is the homie, so it's good to be in their company and to be mentioned along with them. So,
yes, yeah, I'm grateful because I just am like, oh man, you just never know, like when you're who God like connects you with, like how that's going to paying out in the future, right? So just thank you. And if you got anybody else, go ahead and send them on my way.
I most definitely will. I most definitely will.
So we have, this is going to be because I want to celebrate you too a little bit later. But before we get started, because I want people to know who you are, what you do, all the things. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
Well, I am how would I introduce myself? I really am a creative at heart. I really am somebody who enjoys to figure out how to merge my passion with what it is I do on a larger scale.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an educator by trade. I am a creative through and through. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I got started with blogging in 2016 as a way for me to honestly, selfishly tell my story and chronicle my experience as a mom. And then it really dawned on me that, listen, this isn't about me. This is about what I can do and to help other people. And the blog morphed from there. And then it really became more of a community. And then in the beginning of 2021, an idea came to create a line of stationery for mom friends, really a line of Mother's Day cards that moms can exchange amongst each other. And then that's where Around the Way Parchment came from. And it really has grown and taken off and to now be a full stationery design brand.
Yes, I love it. And, when I first started like following you myself, it was like, oh, I think it's so interesting that like when I'm watching people now who are like you said, chronicling their journey as a mom, it's like I'm finding it at this age and stage right here, right? Whereas like when I was young, when my kids were younger, like it's like, dang, what did I, I don't know if I was I'm sure I wasn't the only person, but it's like remind me of like Baby Center that they used to have like the chat rooms where everybody would
Yep.
be on just talking about like, oh, they hit this milestone, this, that, and the third. But I also think that there's something different about having it be like from like from our culture, like people sharing certain things that that's like it's not, we're not alone in some of the
Yes.
things that we are experiencing, that just like, so being able to have because I've seen you've written a couple of articles and I'm girl, you be all over the place. I'm like, okay, she be like featured here, featured here. I'm like, yes, okay. um but like just being able to share those things. So when you were making that transition and knowing that like, okay, this started for you, but recognizing like this really is for the people that I'm reaching, what made you keep going? Because I think a lot of times, sometimes, and I've had people on here and just in talking to people, like stuff starts off as a passion and then it can turn into a purpose, and when it becomes purpose, like that's a bigger responsibility, right? Because a passion you could just put down and be like, I don't want to do that no more. But when
Yeah.
it's purposeful and you realize the impact that you have, the responsibility becomes greater. And so then you're like, then people have that pressure. So how did you continue to push through once you realize the impact you were actually having?
Well, first thing that I think about is thinking about those baby center days when people are pregnant. It's so much about the kid. We put so
Mm,
much focus on the kid.
yeah.
And a large part of why I wanted to start the blog was to not make it about the kid. It was about
Mm,
me.
mm-hmm.
And that was the whole thing. So around the way, mom, yes, you understand that I have a kid or children, but it's really about me. And then
Yeah.
as I took the focus more off of me and more onto here are some things that really helped me to make it through that.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, thinking about self-care is not only about the mani and the pedi, but it's
Right.
how am I taking care of myself financially? How am I
Mm-hmm.
taking care of myself socially? And being able to offer those tips and that support to other moms. And that's when the focus really changed, is let me not just tell a story, but
Mm.
let me tell that story and also let me offer somebody a suggestion. You need to walk away with something that you can incorporate. I'm all about things being practical. I'm not about
Yeah.
stuff being real lofty and all this and that.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to be practical, that I can do this, I can integrate this tip, this trick into my life and make it better. And that's what really took it on. And I also don't put a whole bunch of pressure on myself to say, okay, I have to make it about this, or I have to make it
Mm.
about that. And again, if I'm staying true to this is about supporting other women who identify as me, that I still want to maintain my own life, I still want to
Yeah.
maintain my own identity, or sometimes find that again or rediscover it again, then
Yeah.
that's what's going to keep me grounded in that purpose and in that really in that mindset, that it doesn't have to just be about me, that it can
Mm-hmm.
be about everybody else.
Yeah, no, that is good. So as you were going through this, and just we all know that it's the name of the show, Slaying Self Doubt. How has self doubt showed up in your journey? Did you hear that ad at the beginning of the show? If you're a business owner looking to expand your reach, you can promote your company or product with a host read pre-roll or mid-roll ad by me on the Slang Self-Doubt podcast. If you want more information, email info@FeliciaWallace.com. That's info@FeliciaWallace.com. Now, back to the show.
Ooh wee, let me tell you. It is self-doubt is the kind of thing I like to think about it as that voice that
Mm-hmm.
that lives inside of me, that honestly I don't know if she will ever go away. I haven't named her. I don't know if I will, but she'll never go away. However, every time I do the scary thing, every
Mm-hmm.
time I do the big thing, her voice gets lower and lower and smaller and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
smaller, and it shows up in me stressing about any little thing, it shows up about me worrying how the cards will be perceived,
Yeah.
worrying about the sales,
Yeah.
worrying about how my designs pair up against somebody else's, worrying about all of those things. And really, it stifles me.
Mm-hmm.
It truly does stifle me. And I think with anybody, when that doubt shows up, we got to work 10 times harder for ourselves
Yeah.
to overcome it. And again, I don't think it'll ever go away, but I make her voice smaller and smaller and lower every time I do something. And I'm like, see, I didn't let you get the best of me with
Yeah.
this one. You know what I mean? And I'm getting better with sometimes with some things where the doubt may have paralyzed me for an hour. Maybe it's only getting me for 5 minutes, or maybe it's only getting me for, a couple of moments, but I'm
Yeah.
learning how to use some different tips and tricks to overcome that.
Yeah. So two things that you said was that like you hear that voice and naming her. My mentor coach, she named hers, right? Like she's like, because she's like, I got to a place. I haven't named mine yet either. But she was like, she got to a place where she was like, you coming with me, right? Like
Mhm.
we're going to do this together. And she was like, putting a name on it allowed her to be able to be in a space where she identified it. You know what I'm saying? So when, I don't know, I'm gonna just use a name. When, Tasha showed up, I don't know nobody named Tasha. So I think whenever I be thinking of names, I be like, I don't want to use no name that like is
Right.
somebody, then I see somebody's
Yes.
face. I'm like, I ain't trying to say to you. So,
Right.
but like when Tasha show up, it's like, listen, Tasha, we don't have time today. Okay. So like either you gonna come with me or you gonna sit down. Which one you gonna do? Right. And so I would encourage you, and I'm encouraging myself and those of you all listening, if you are aware of your self-doubt, give it a name. Give her a name so that it becomes more personal, because I think some of the struggle is that we think that it's the enemy, right? We think that, well, maybe God is telling me that I shouldn't be doing this
Yeah.
when it's you. Like you
Yep.
have to be able to distinguish when it's you and when it's the enemy, and even when it's God. Because God will tell you no. God will
Yeah.
tell you this isn't the right time. He will tell you to sit your $5 tail down if need be.
Mhm.
But sometimes, most of the time, it's us.
Yeah.
And so if I think when we name it and we know what it is, then we can be like, no, Tasha, not today, right? And then the other thing that you said is one of the things that I encourage is like take action, because when you take action on that thing, you're right. The Tasha gets quieter, right? And I have this note on my computer that says, my wellness coach said that confidence is a skill, not a trait. I think she read it somewhere, but it was when you said that, it's like when we continue to practice that action of doing the things that scares us, we end up getting confidence. And so
Yeah.
then we're in a space where I don't feel as nervous about doing this thing because I've done it enough times. And so now it doesn't scare me anymore.
Yeah.
So my self-doubt, I can't even hit Tasha,
Yep.
right? Because my confidence is so loud. She like, hey.
Exactly. And the other thing that sometimes some people think, if I give it a name, then I'm giving it power.
Mm-hmm.
And just like if people say, well, I don't want to call it anxiety because then that's me claiming it. I don't want to call it depression. That's me claiming it. Well, it's going to be there regardless.
Yeah.
So the quicker you are to name it that and to identify it, the quicker
Mm-hmm.
you are to be able to recognize when she or he shows up.
Yeah.
And then the quicker you can become to attack them with the skills that you have, or maybe the tools that you're learning to use in
Mm-hmm.
order to defeat it. So I don't think it's anything wrong with naming it,
Yeah.
because again, if you don't, then you're really just lying to yourself and you're acting like she doesn't exist when
Yeah.
she does, and when she's going to show up all the time, or in the
Yep.
middle of the night, or in pain in your body, or a
Mm-hmm.
headache, or lack of appetite, all these other things. But then you're right, she's gonna have to come along, and
Mm-hmm.
I can then fight her with, again, like I said, the tools that I know I have in my arsenal to be able to attack her.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. What are the tools? Like everybody does stuff differently. What works for one person may not work for another. So, what are some practical tools that you use when, and we're going to call her Tasha, when
Yeah.
Tasha
I'm
shows
gonna tell
up?
you, one way is by me moving my body. The other
Mm.
day I was starting to feel some stress from some good news, right? I
Yeah.
started to become overwhelmed from the good stuff, from
Yeah.
the fear of success,
Yeah.
honestly, right?
Speak on it.
When that big thing happened, I found myself feeling anxiety settling in. I
Mm-hmm.
got my butt up and I went to the gym. And
Yeah.
I said, we are going to work this out in
Yeah.
a productive way. I'm not going to eat her away. I'm not going to sleep her away. I'm not going to shop her away.
Yeah.
I'm going to the gym. And I
Mm-hmm.
felt better. Another tool that I have is to tell somebody. So I
Mm-hmm.
do see a therapist regularly, but in that moment, I reached out to a friend and
Yeah.
I named it and I said, this is exactly how I'm feeling at this moment. And being able to say it let me have that weight come off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Something else I do is I journal on a regular basis, and I journal my prayers, I journal my thoughts. I just begin to write. Sometimes if I don't feel like writing, I might type it, but I get it out in that type of way. And then it's moments where I really just have to have quiet time. I call it quiet time. My son knows it's like, okay, you need to go in your room and maybe it's lay across the bed. Maybe it's look at TV for a minute.
Yeah.
Maybe it's listening to a podcast. Maybe it's listening to a sermon. That's another big thing for me is I listen to a lot of things during the course of my workday, but I
Mm-hmm.
listen to a lot of sermons and it helps me in that moment to put my focus on something else instead of what it is that is stressing me.
Yeah.
And those are really the biggest things that I do that have been helping me a whole lot lately.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And I love the fact that of course, on here, on the show, we talk about how self-doubt shows up in so many different ways. But that fear of success is real, right? Earlier, I said, once you are doing something and the responsibility that you have when you're in purpose and you are impacting people, that's a good thing, right?
Yes.
It's not a bad thing to be doing, but it can be stressful because then your brain is telling you like, well, are you telling the people the right thing? Are you doing the right? Is this really what they want to hear? Is this really what they want to see? And then even when you get the affirmation or you get the recognition and you get the thing that says, yes, this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing, because we pray about it, right? And when God gives us the big thing, then it'd be like, well, wait a minute.
For real though?
Are you saying for real? Like this is you for real, for real. So like, hold on one second, wait a minute. So you telling me for real right now that this is for real a thing that you want me to do, and then you panic all over again. So I love the fact that that you said that, because I think a lot of people think like success happens and all of your stuff goes away. Absolutely not. Like it doesn't, because if nothing else, I would think that in some cases it can exacerbate it. Yeah, like, and it heightens it. And then now you're like, because now it's like, well, now I have to perform. Now there's an expectation because I'm here, right? And so it's a different level. So thank you for sharing that, because I think there's some people, there's times when people that's like, I want to be successful. I mean, we all do, but there is.
But do we understand what
comes with it, and are you ready?
Yes.
Because you have to have, and all the things that you say are the things you have to have in your arsenal when the success comes, because what you just said is you're going to feel the exact same way when you're trying to get somewhere. The same way place you feel when the self-doubt is when you're starting something is the same way you'll feel the same emotions when it actually happens. And so I love the movement. I've just gotten into that, and it actually is a good thing. So it does help. I feel so much better afterwards. And I'm actually now at the point where I'm like, dang, if I can't go to the gym, like what am I do? Like I really like, and so I even told my wellness coach, I was like, I want to be the person that exercises on vacation. But if that's the case, then I need to be the person that exercises when they're not on vacation.
That's right. But again, we have to build those habits. And that's the thing about those tools is I used to be in a space where I would only go to the tools when the thing was happening. But I'm learning how to make the tools a part of my regular routine so that I don't have to go to them for just when it's a fire. When the dumpster's on fire and I'm trying to go to the gym and I'm like, I'm just gonna burn it off. Yes, it'll be effective, but it also won't be as meaningful in some ways. So that means I move my body 3 to 4 days a week, and I
Yeah.
am journaling every day, and I'm doing these things. So I know that's something that I can do not only when when it's an emergency, but I
Yeah.
can do it even when stuff is good.
Yeah. And that was the Holy Spirit just said, and that's the same way it's supposed to be when you in relationship with God. It should not
Yep.
be when things
Yep.
are going really, really bad. And now you like, oh, I need to pray. Right.
Mhm.
It should be a continuous thing so that even in those moments when things are going great, you're still being grateful. You're still praying to him and you're,
Yeah.
talking and having that conversation. So that's for anybody who's just waiting for like the big thing to happen. And we all
Yes.
fall into that. Sometimes we get so like complacent or we're focused on this thing that we get out of alignment. But if you do that, it makes things a whole lot easier. So what have you learned about yourself during this journey that you didn't know before?
That I have what I need inside of me to get it done. That I have the tools, that I have it, that everything I need is already in me. It was put in me from before I was even born.
Yeah.
And it may be that as I am moving along, more of these things get uncovered, and nothing is new. Nothing is new. And that I have the confidence I need. Again, it's me tapping into it.
Yeah.
And that I think another big thing, not I think, I know that another big thing I've learned is to just do the things, right? So Joyce Meyer talks about, doing it scared or doing it afraid. But I really can do that. That's something I can do well. And what I'm working on now is doing it confidently, because I look at a lot of things that I've accomplished in business and professionally in my personal life. I've done a lot of those things scared. And I'll tell people in a minute, I was nervous as crap, or I was sweating. I didn't know how it was going to go. But if I did that stuff scared, imagine what I could do confidently.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm learning about myself now, is to not focus on the fear, but to focus on the confidence, focus on the other side of things, and to make that what I use to go forward.
Yeah. That is really good. I think that a lot of times, especially when you're in like this entrepreneurship journey, because it's so much on the line and it's so important to you that I feel like a lot of stuff we do scared, right? It's like all of it, because you're the and when I say scared, not like fearful, but just like you want it all to work. And so it's just all this nervous energy that's just like, oh, get it done, right? But doing it confidently, like you said, is different. Like even now, like I'm 3 years, almost 3 years into podcasting, and I still get nervous. And every single time, whether I have to record for myself or record with do an interview, it's still the same thing. But there are times where I'll be like, I got this, let's go. Like, let's go in. Like, even for today, like my day didn't go the way it normally goes. And so what I do to kind of prepare before I get on, I didn't have the time to do, because I was kind of rushing. But I recognized in that moment, I wasn't even nervous. It was just like, all right, plug the stuff up. Let's go. We got it. I got the questions. I know what I need to do because I've done this. This is that confidence. That's a skill. I've done it so many times. Like this is just me using the muscle all over again. And I'm like, and on top of that, I'm good at what I do. Right. And so some of that is having to recognize, like you got to, the same way we talk about oftentimes, running back God's track record, you have to run back yours as well. Like I'm good at what I do. I know what I'm doing. And that's what you're saying. Like be confident in it because you do know. And so when you show up that way, your confidence will show up even in those moments where you like, dang, I think I was in the Matrix while that happened, like.
And that's where it comes into keeping the receipts. A few years ago, it might have been I know it definitely was in 2019, but I was probably listening to something and it was recommended that we start to write down a list of all the small things, everything that is good that's happening. So I called it my It's Happening list. And I kept it for 2019. I kept it for 2020, 21, now 2022. But I would write down small things, and I did it by each month. If I had a podcast interview, I wrote that down. Or if I made a connection, I would write that down. And what I began to notice was that stuff was adding up, that these were all these, what I thought were small steps in the moment, started to add up. And then I can look back like, whoa, we did that. Or Krystal, you made that happen. And that's what's important. And it's not vain, it's not arrogant, it's fact. It's fact. It's purely fact. Just like you said, you've been doing this, you know what to do. So you have built that muscle. And the same way that I know the things that I'm gifted in doing, I can look back at the track record like, you did that. And when I start to feel a little bit icky, sometimes I'm like, girl, go back and look at your list, because and now it's a stack. Now it's like, okay, don't ever think that you can't, because this is all the proof that shows that you can. And that helps again to slay the doubt. So that's another tool in the arsenal. Move my body, really good. Do this, do that, but start to keep a list. Keep a list of all of your own personal receipts.
I think that's a great idea. I think I started that, but I wasn't consistent with it. And that is probably something that I need, because I'm very much so a person that's just like, I haven't done anything. And then I run it back and I'll be like, wait a minute. But it's always at the end of the year, right? Like you'd be like, dang, okay, I did this and I did that. Like, and you know, you're setting goals. Like I had a goal set for this year, and I realized it's February. And I'm already halfway through it. And I didn't even know. Like it's literally found. I'm like, oh, I already, without even trying. I haven't even tried. Like I have not put in any effort yet. It's just what's been coming to me, but I put it out there and I said, Lord, this is what I want. And then it started to come to me. And then now when I'm thinking, oh, I need to do, I'm like, oh, well, I can check that off my list, because I've already done that. That came, oh, so-and-so reached out to me about this. And so, but come December, I will forget that I did these things, you know what I'm saying, at the beginning of the year. But I think it's like you said, it's a great reminder of showing us that not only the small, like what you're saying, like your accomplishments and your wins and celebrating yourself, but also I think it's a great reminder of like where God is leading us, right? Because a lot of times we take little things and we make them little, when really it's preparation for the next thing. And you don't even see it, because you're like, how I get here? Well, that's because you did all of these things that he was preparing you for that next thing, that when you walked into it, you didn't have to second guess yourself, because you knew, right? And so that's a great thing too. I love that.
And that makes me think about, I was listening to a sermon by TD Jakes. That's my homeboy, but it was a couple weeks ago, but he said something about, you know, the things that happen in your life are not a surprise. I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, you know, if something big happens, God is not going to do something big and not show you steps along the way for how you got there. So for instance, if you are podcasting, right, then you can be able to look back, maybe even as a child, how there were some seeds that were dropped and how some things started to bloom throughout your life that gave you a clue as to what it is that you're doing now. And I was like, dag, that is so true, that nothing in our lives is trivial. Nothing is small. That, you know, I can think about how I did things with working with kids when I was a teenager in childcare. Well, I'm a parent now, or I was in the television production program in high school, and now I'm doing things with TV now. And it's like, okay, I didn't realize it then, but all these things add up. And so it's not a surprise. And so we can, again, look back at the whole trajectory of your life, look back at all those things. And I struggled for a long time with trying to figure out, what is my thing? What's my big thing? What am I supposed to do? I had all these friends around me who were moving and shaking, like they found their thing. And I cried about it personally. And I remember saying, God, what is my thing? Like, what is it? People were saying, you should do this, you should do that. But I never felt led to do it. And then as things really began to unfold, I was like, now I understand why I was in that stuck place of not being able to figure it out. And I know that there are other things that are still going to be revealed, but again, I could look back and now it's all making sense now.
Yeah. And what came up for me when you said that was like, we see these things happening around forever, and we assume that what we see is what we're supposed to be doing versus
Mm-hmm.
the fact that what's already in you, which is what you said in the very beginning, like God already formed us. He already knew. So if you take, and I've heard that on another podcast, someone else said the same thing. Like if you're trying to figure out, look back over your life and what are the things that are the connecting pieces
Yeah.
that make sense, right? Like, and it may not, the thing about it is that it may not look the way you think it's supposed to look, right? Like for me, even with doing this, like podcasting was like, it's still, even now, I'm still kind of like, I can kind of see how it's supposed to work, but I know that what it is that I'm supposed to do is making connections with other women. Like that is the thing. Like I know that is what my gift is. That is what I'm supposed to be able to do. How I do it, I can't
Yeah.
always see that, but I know that the gift is, and the fact that, I can talk. So that so that's how the podcast, I think that's how the podcast goes in. Cause I'm like, well, I can talk to myself, with no
Yeah.
problem. And it all makes sense, right?
Yeah.
With someone else, like I can't imagine talking to myself for 30 minutes. And I'm like, I do it every week. But like, just like you said, I can remember in my early 20s, like, something that I thought was random. Like, why would somebody ask me this? That now I'm like, oh, that was God planting the seed in me to show me that this is where I was. I'm here for a reason. So,
Yeah.
I definitely, I totally agree with that. So, let's talk about all things around the mom, around the way mom, and around the way parchment, because we've been talking around it. And so, I want you to be able to share the good news and the big news. So come on, tell us what you offer, all of those things. If you've been listening to this podcast or following me on social media for a while and you're ready to start your journey to healing, or you're ready to confront your doubts and insecurities, there are 3 ways I can help. First, you can download the journal prompt from my website. Use this as a guide to get back on track with where God is calling you. Secondly, you can go to my website and purchase the Slaying Self-Doubt Prayer Journal. Using this prompt and journal will pull out where you are stuck on your journey. These questions will force you to dig deep and find your fears. Lastly, if you're ready to invest in your healing journey and work directly with me, book a 30-minute connection call with me today. This allows us to see if we are a good fit for each other. So head on over to my website, www.feliciawallace.com, to do one or all 3 of these. That's www.feliciawallace.com. Now, back to the show.
Yeah. Well, Around the Way Mom is the blog that I write related to motherhood and womanhood and partnership and all the things. And it's on a bit of a hiatus because my newest baby to the franchise is
Yes, franchise. Come on,
yes,
let's
to the
go.
franchise, to the brand, honey, to the brand. The newest baby is Around the Way Parchment, and that is the full service stationery design company that is an infusion of African American and popular culture into everything from greeting cards to journals and notebooks and writing instruments that's really catered to the African American woman. And I am thrilled that I took a chance on this business and really took it serious. Last year,
Yeah.
I started to dabble in it really with Mother's Day cards for mom friends, and then followed it up with Father's Day cards. And I tell everybody that January 2021, I wrote down my goals. I still have them. There was absolutely nothing on there about stationery. There was not one thing about it. And the Lord gave me this idea in February, and I ran. I mean, I ran fast and I ran hard with it. That's something I did with pure confidence. And I then took it serious. I really began to get a glimpse as to what the business can be.
Yeah.
And I took it serious. I took classes. I worked on my own professional development. I called it the summer of learning, where I was taking 3 different classes. I'm talking from 6 to 9 some nights, or 6 to 8. Like I sacrificed a lot to learn. And then I had an opportunity to to take a small business ownership class that could prepare me to enter a business plan pitch competition. Everything is about pitches these days, right? And so I said, well, all right, we're going to do this now. And from that experience, I wrote the business plan, which honestly, had I not done this program, I probably would not have wrote the plan. Like knowing what I know now, I probably wouldn't have wrote the plan. Like, it was a lot. I mean, I have gone through many iterations of this business plan, but from that, I pitched the idea, and out of 44 people who entered, 12 were selected as finalists, and then 6 won prizes, and I won $20,000 from my pitch and from my plan. So that was a huge confirmation, and it's still sinking in. It's still sinking in. Like, whoa, it really happened.
Yeah,
it
really happened. And then that means, which is what we talked about earlier, that you have to go, right?
Yes.
A lot of times, first of all, congratulations to you, right? Because what you said is that I ran with it. And the first thing I thought of is that my pastor says the key to obedience is speed. Right. Yeah. And it's so how many times have God given us an idea and we question it, we pause, are you sure that's what you want me to do? We want clarity, we want all these things. And then you may miss it, right? Or not, I don't want to say miss it, but it's like there's a delay. And if you had not moved in the speed that you had moved and did the things that you needed to do to take it seriously, because that's another thing we do. Like I've even said that with slaying self-doubt, like, okay, I'm playing around with this. Like I know the impact that it's making. I know what it is, but I haven't officially said I'm running a business, right? Like and so that when you say that requires a different mindset. It requires you to get serious about it. It requires you to do things that make it professional, so you know what you're doing, right? And so then you following those allowed you, like you said, if you knew what you know now, like you wouldn't have done the pitch, which means you wouldn't have gotten the money, which means that you would have been doing it, but not at the level that you could do it now.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And so congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you. Like, it really is. It's something that, like, when you see that, like, a lot of times that is we don't think that, like, oh, we don't fall in that category. I can't do that. That's when Tasha come back and be like, well, you ain't really doing it like they doing it, right? Like,
or it's not gonna happen for you, or you sitting up here writing this, it ain't nothing gonna come about, and you don't know what you're doing. A business plan, girl, please. What you know about a business plan? This is supposed to be a little hobby. You don't know what you do. All of those things. And I had those moments, and I really did. There were a couple times when I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not going to do this competition anymore. I'm out. Krystal out. I'll figure this out. And then I had to keep saying, but you've invested so much time. You've invested time already, Krystal. Finish it out. You've done it. The finish line is right there. And I kept saying, regardless of the outcome, the business is still moving forward. So this either will happen or it won't happen, but it's not going to stop what you're going to do. It may make some things a little bit more slower to get done, but it's not going to stop anything. So I had to really talk to myself a whole lot and say, listen, you got to run your own race. You got to write this plan. You have what you need to do it, Krystal. You have what you need to do it. Just do it.
On top of the fact that I think that some of the things that we don't necessarily recognize all the time is that when it's a God thing, suddenly a miracle, like those things happen. They're a part of the plan because it's not yours anyway. So if he gave you something, that means it's coming to fruition. Like, so if he moves you in a direction, a lot of times we are closer than what we think we are. You're not supposed to see the whole plan. You're not supposed to see, because guess what? If he showed you all the steps that was going to take for you to get to $20,000, you would have been like, yeah, that's too much work.
Never mind.
Nah, I'm not even about this. That just so can someone else write that for me, or do I
Yep.
have to do all the steps? You know,
Trust me, I really thought about that several times. I was like, you know what? I really could hire somebody else to write this plan. I really truly started researching it. And then I thought, girl, if you don't stop doing this, I didn't
I'm
want to do
cracking up because I'm just thinking about all the things that I'm like, can I pay somebody to do this? And then he'd be like, girl, like
it. Mhm.
seriously, like, no, you're doing this for a reason. The
Yep.
reason why you're doing this is because I need you to see, one, what you're capable of doing,
Yeah.
two, that whatever it is I have you to do, you're going to need later. And so
Yes.
we want to bypass stuff and give stuff to other people because it'll be easier for us in the moment. But the reason why we have to do it is so that later on we can say, oh, this is light work. I already did
Yep.
this at
Yep.
the hardest
Yep.
time where I didn't think I could. You want me to do that? Oh yeah, sure. That's nothing, right? And then later on, you be like, oh, now I see why he had me do that. Okay, then.
It all, so again, no experience is wasted.
Yeah,
It all comes back around. And
yeah.
I made a promise to God when the idea came to do the Mother's Day cards. And I said, you know what? I'm not gonna fumble the ball. I'm not
Mm,
gonna fumble the ball.
mm.
Like, you gave it to me. I may not know how to get to the end zone, but I am not going to intentionally
Yeah,
fumble the ball
yeah.
with procrastination, with avoidance, because I can avoid real well, right? I can procrastinate like the best of them,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to fumble the ball with comparing myself to anybody else. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to fumble the ball with inaction. I'm not going to fumble it with laziness,
Yeah,
like all of those things. And that's the doubt part, right? So I got
yeah.
to work hard against all of that so that I cannot fumble the ball.
Yeah, no, and that is what came up for me when you said that, was like, let your yes be your yes. Like when you tell God yes, you have to mean it with your whole heart, and it's not going to always be easy. It's not going to be a cakewalk. It ain't going to be, because it's meant to grow you. It's meant to
Yeah.
stretch you. It's meant to get you to the best version of yourself. Excuse me. And sometimes we say yes, but we don't know the cost. And so then we like, so okay. I didn't realize all of this was going to be a part of it. But no, that was an encouragement to me that, like, I'm not going to fumble the ball. Like, if something else happens outside of my control, then I can't control that. But what I'm
Yep.
not going to do is I'm not going to give up on what you gave me.
Yep.
And that is a confirmation and a affirmation for somebody to just tell God, I'm not going to drop the ball. It won't
Mm-hmm.
be because of me that this does not get done. Right.
Yep.
And that
Yep.
we do that with every other thing. Why
Mm-hmm.
you can do that with whatever it is that he's called you to do. So,
Yep.
oh man, thanks so much, Krystal. This was such a. I always say that I know why God connects me with certain people, and so you just I just love your energy. Like, you
Oh,
just,
thank
oh
you.
yeah. I can't wait until this weather right now is crazy. I just in the house. But we local to the area. I'm about to
Yes.
catch up with you and all of that, girl. And I see you a PG County girl, even though
I
you
sure am.
all the way out
PGZ,
there.
baby. Just a little bit up the road north in
I don't
in
know about a little
Baltimore.
bit, but you was definitely up the road.
It's not far. It's not far. It's not far. I
Okay.
promise.
Well, can you tell the people how they can connect with you, how they can get to the blog, even though it's on a hiatus right now, but that does not mean what you've already written people don't need right now. And to get the stationery and the greeting cards.
Well, I am active on social media. I am on Instagram. My personal page is at the Around the Way Mom. The Parchment page is at ATW Parchment, for Around the Way Parchment. And then the website for the blog is aroundthewaymom.com. And the website for the stationery store is aroundthewayparchment.com. People can sign up now to be on the email list, and the store will officially be opening in February.
Hey.
So by the time this airs, the store will be open, rocking, and
Hey,
popping. So
let's
people
go. Right
can
in
go
time for
there.
Mother's
That's
Day.
right. And I do hope to be at various pop-ups and
Come on
on-site
now.
shopping opportunities so that folks can get what they need right in hand and be able to avoid shipping and waiting for all of that. So I hope to
Yes.
see people in person and when that time comes.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing your story. Keep shining your light, sis.
Thank you.
And this, I can guarantee you're gonna have some people that's gonna be like, I need them greeting cards, okay? Because they not giving what they, we already know they
Yes.
ain't been giving away they're supposed to be given. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I love this podcast. Again, I listen while I'm working during the day.
Hey.
The title really drew me in, and I was like, you know what? Let's just cut to the chase. Slaying self-doubt. I'm like, oh, I need to listen to this because again, it's real. We need to admit it. And then I love being able to hear from people and also hear from you about practical ways and people's experiences with how they can and how they have slayed their self-doubt. So
Thanks. I thank you, and I received that. Thank you. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self-Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.